Pugh! That'll do it! That will do it! Pugh for Bournemouth! The roof of the Gold Sands is raised! Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Hello, good evening, Cherries fans. AFC Bournemouth dispatched of Forest 2-0 tonight at the Vitality Stadium. The Cherries today did what they needed to do against a team that didn't cause too much of a threat. It was what you'd call professional, I suppose. We didn't really get out of third gear, and whilst there were some isolated threats from the away side, Junior Stanislas was ultimately the difference with a calm finish early doors, followed by a well-struck penalty in the second. I felt like we could have gone on and scored 3, maybe 4, but to be finishing 2-0, I think we're all happy with that. And by the looks of it, most of our players seem to be okay. And what's he going to do for the next game against Rotherham? We don't quite know. But if you want to get involved tonight, I'll pop the link at the bottom of the screen. Just grab your device and plug some headphones in if you can. And go to afcbpodcast.com/10part. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you give this video a thumbs up as well, that would also help us massively. So today we're going to start by bringing in Daniel over in the United States, but also we've got Pete and Zach waiting, Billy Day, Craig and Morgan Scott as well. So firstly, Daniel, how are you? 2-0 against Forest.
Yep, it was amazing.
Really good performance, wasn't it? I thought it was really professional and we nullified their threats. And I think, I wouldn't say it was fairly easy, but we did what we had to do all over the pitch. It was a really professional performance. What stood out for you today?
It was a good game. What really stand out to me was the first goal. I didn't really expect it. I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be a goal. And it was like crazy that it was like 3 minutes in. I want to say 3 minutes in.
It was. And we haven't made fast starts in a long time, have we? And it's the first time that we've managed to get off to a 1-0 lead so early. And Daniel, I'm thinking about that Sheffield Wednesday result where we played awful. That result almost seems to have done us a favour because since that match, we've looked so much better, haven't we? It's almost like we drew all those games and people were harping on about the unbeaten record, and it was almost a thing that suffocated us a little bit. As soon as we got that loss out of our system, then we've been playing brilliant ever since. And, you know, tonight, I thought each player played really well, didn't they?
Yeah. I think it's because, I want to say you guys said it last time, a loss makes, like, I want to say the team more confident because then the next game was Reading, and we did amazing in that game.
Yeah, we really did. And if you're watching, whether you're watching on Twitter or Twitch, we're on now, YouTube, Facebook, or wherever, we'll get your messages on screen. So thanks, Paul, Harold as well. A good first half finally, said James Brown. Wanted Solanke to take the pen. Yeah, so did I, to be fair. His performance was all right today. I thought he wasn't as involved as he was in the last game. I still think he had a good game. Kirk says UTC IAD. Heather again, up the Cherries, and Jules, hiya, how are you? Brooks is the best player in this league by far. What we're going to do is we're going to bring in a couple of others now, by the way of Pete and Zach, who are waiting. Craig, Morgan and Billy, you're going to be in very, very soon. However, Pete and Zach, nice to have you on the show. Hello. What did you think of that?
First half, I was really happy with it. I mean, the pass from Brooks, I think, from halfway over to Junior, who was able to tuck it in the first, 3 minutes, I think he said. Absolutely incredible. I didn't think, apart from the Junior Stanislas corner, or maybe that Mark Pugh goal, first goal of the seasons again, in the 14-15 season, I don't think we've ever seen a goal that quick.
Yeah, that's right. And Brooks, he seems to be going from strength to strength, doesn't he?
Definitely, he's a class player. He's definitely making a name for himself in the Championship.
And it's good that a lot of other players, like, Lewis Cook, it seems that goal at the weekend, whilst he had a few strikes that went wayward today, at least he's looking to shoot, whereas sometimes the ball reaches him. And even on Radio Solent, when you hear the commentary back, when David Brooks feeds Lewis Cook before his third goal against, in the last match, John Williams, he almost sighs as like, oh no. But then he pulls that screamer out of the bag. And, all over the pitch, I thought we were really good. It's good to see Chris Mepham and Steve Cook, whilst Lloyd Kelly maybe technically is, better than what Chris Mepham is. You could argue that Steve Cook and Chris Mepham have the better partnership because it's yet another clean sheet. So Jason Tyndall's going to be happy with that, isn't he?
Definitely, it's going to be a massive team boost to keep that win run going despite losing a couple of games ago. I mean, going back to that Lewis Cook incident. Sorry, I interrupted you there. But going back to that Lewis Cook incident, as you said, he had a couple of tries tonight from a long range. I think he had one or two actually, and I think that's massively straight confidence into him. Getting his first Cherries goal and getting all the attention he did about it, and then I think that's really boosted his confidence going into the next couple of games.
Brilliant. So we're going to also bring in a couple of others. Kirk Tovey says, great tempo and dominant from minute one, picks the league, etc. We're going to bring in at this point Ollie May, who is standing by. Ollie, how are you, sir?
Not too bad, thanks. Better now.
Better now. Yeah, good win. Three on the spin.
Do you know, I was actually nervous before this game. I don't usually get nervous before games, but for some reason today, I just reading about Forest. I thought they had something about them that I don't think we played this season, apart from I think it was the Norwich game. I think they had something that we didn't really, there's something different about them. They attack teams, and I think what we saw today is they sit back, and then when they win the ball back, they try and counter you. And I think that really worked well for them, despite not creating too many chances. I thought Amiobi was class for them. I thought Harry Arter, as expected, would play well, and he did. But I think overall it was a very, very professional performance. I mean, we didn't have to do too much in the second half, apart from keep the ball at times and try and run the game down. But, all in all, I think they were the better team and deserved the 3 points.
Were you surprised to see Lerma start at all? Because I thought he might have been rested for this one, but not the case.
Well, I think the 5 sub rule, again, I'm not sure when that comes into place. Sorry, I don't know if that's in play now or whether that's upcoming. But having 5 subs, I believe, gives you a little bit more depth to play players that you might have left out in the Premier League. Obviously, they haven't got the 5 sub rule yet. So I was a little bit surprised. But then, like I say, looking at Forest and the lineup that they had, they are a strong team. And I think that in the Championship, you need to take it game by game. There are so many games, of course, but I think you need to take it game by game and play your strongest team when you can. And I think that worked out for us in the end.
They did have chances, though. And if they were more critical, then it could have been a different story. I mean, Sammy Amiobi was wasteful with one of his chances at the far post. They had that header from Ryan Yates, which was a huge chance over the bar from Anthony Knockhart, who weaved some space on their right flank. And, they're probably going to be kicking themselves at that. But I think, aside from those chances, I think we did dominate, and you could say the scoreline flattered them. I'm not too sure, but, certainly well-deserved. And I wouldn't, I'm going to bring a Forest fan next, by the way, of Liam, who's standing by. But I can imagine most of them probably expected that kind of scoreline. But for the weekend, Ollie, what do you think he's going to do in terms of the lineup? Because it's an interesting one. Players will need to be rested in.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we saw Riquelme come on at the final stage of the game today. He didn't obviously have too much time, but when he did come on, I did think he was quite decent on the ball. I think we saw him attack teams. When he does come on, we saw him at the weekend play quite well. So I think, we will have to change the team around. We saw today we went from a 4 at the back, back to the 3 at the back. So we are changing it around where Jason deems fit. And I think, Jason did say that, he isn't almost scared to take teams on and change the style each game, but of course still keep that attacking intent in place. So I think, we might see Danjuma rested, David Brooks possibly. I think Solanke's been fantastic. I think he could lead the line every week so far. I think, he's surprised me. I didn't think he would be, as a perfect fit as he is already. He saw today he should have had 2 penalties in the end. He ended up getting the first one, not the second one. But yeah, I expect us to rest players at the weekend. But again, it's another tough game, as most games are in the Championship. So when you can, you've got to play your best team. But so far, I think we've got so used to playing a certain way in a certain lineup that I think a couple of changes shouldn't really change the style too much.
Brilliant. Well, it's nice to have you guys on. We're going to rotate the panel if we can. Ollie, nice to see you, buddy.
You too,
glad
mate.
to see you looking well. Also, Pete and Zach, thank you very much for coming on. If you're back in the net,
Brilliant.
David,
Thank
but
you so
anytime
much.
you want to come on, we'd really love you on because, yeah, some cracking opinion there. Really appreciated that. Thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. And Daniel, from over in the States there, have
Thanks
a good
for having
day.
me.
I'm sure it'll be better for that 2-0 win. So we're going to bring in a Forest fan by the way of Liam Henshaw to get his view and for a bit of a reunion after your preview chat. Craig Beasley's also standing by too. So we'll just have us three, but Jeremy and Billy Day and Morgan and also Bob Jenkins is here as well. Liam, how are you, mate?
Hi, mate. You're right. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Obviously, we are chuffed with the win, but from your point of view, how did you view that?
Yeah, well, I said in the preview that I'd snatch your hand off for a point, and obviously that was obviously the case after tonight's performance. I think on the balance of things, it was definitely a fair result, and Bournemouth, of course, deserved the 3 points. I thought that outside actually of your two main chances, which obviously were your goals, your penalty, and the goal beginning of the first half, it actually didn't particularly create a great deal of high quality chances. It was fair to say. I think it was a fair few half chances, this and that here or there. Also, the only positive I can think of from Forest side is that the Amiobi actually had a decent game. It was the first time he's come back into the starting 11 after the last couple of games and played pretty well. In terms of negatives, obviously there's quite a few from our perspective. The only making 2 subs again, so that's 3 subs in his last 2 games since the 5 subs rule come in. We've made 14 new signings in the new summer, and we've actually only seen a handful of players being used under Hughton. I've actually just tweeted out to get Forest fans' reaction to see if if he's unhappy with the team or whether we actually think he's trying to maintain some stability and continuity. Outside of that, Arthur was deployed in a bit of a number 10 role, which I thought was strange. Was tweeted it would be a 4-3-3, but Arthur actually played further forward. I didn't particularly think that worked well. I thought he was bypassed quite a lot during the game. When he actually sat in deeper and formed a 3 in midfield, I thought that's when you guys struggled to break us down. And then outside of that, Solanke, I thought, had a brilliant game. He was coming in, playing a bit of a false 9 role, coming in, dropping in deep to create space for Stanislas, Brooks and Danjuma to run in behind, which causes issues. And obviously that's how the first goal came about.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that about Harry Arter because it's we haven't seen him play in that position often before, and to us as Bournemouth fans that have seen him play for season after season, it seemed like he was wasted in that position, and he needs to be a bit further back, like centre to the action. But obviously it seemed to be a fairly defensive lineup, but that's what you're probably going to get under Chris Hughton, I suppose, because he's a defensive coach, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And look, we've had a season and a bit under Sabrimucci, who plays a similar brand of football. Wants to sit in and play on the counter attack, using the pace to get behind. The thing is that for me, where Forest need to strengthen and improve would be players to stretch a playing in behind. It's all well and good sitting in and playing and trying to play on the counter attack, soak up the pressure, or at least not necessarily be such a progressive team. However, for me, we've got the likes of Joe Lolly, Knockout, and Sami Amiobi, who are quality players. However, they're all very similar. Want to get on the ball and beat a man and carry the ball forward, whereas we don't particularly have that player who can stretch in behind to cause problem and get defenders facing their own goal. The only player we've got like that in the squad is Mighton, who's yet to really be seen this season, and especially under Hughton. In addition to that, we're lacking a real progressive centre midfielder. I was excited to see a 4-3-3 today, and then as soon as Arthur was lined up playing in 10, it was. I didn't think it was particularly going to work well, but it's the first game of a tough 6 or 7 run for Forest now. There's going to be huge questions asked, especially after this game. So hopefully we can go away and try and work on something. But yeah, it was a tough night tonight, I think, for the most part for Forest fans.
what I'll do is I'll bring in Jeremy, who's standing by in North Carolina. Jeremy, how are you?
Sam, how are you? Craig, good to see you.
Hi,
Liam,
Jeremy.
Liam, great beard, man. You look like a home brewer here in the States with that beard. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Either that or a pastor. There are a lot of pastors now that do that. So.
I can only dream of something like that. But I just wanted to pick up, Craig, on something that Liam said with regards to the fact that, we did score our 2 goals, but we didn't create many more clear chances. And do you think that's something that Jason's going to be worried about, or do you think it was just a case of doing what we had to do? Because I must admit, at 2-0, I still felt uncomfortable.
I think Forest defended very well. I do think you defended very well, Liam. I think he will be expecting a little bit more moving forwards. Brooks was on fire. That pass for Stanislas to cut through the middle, again, was exquisite. It was fantastic. On a bit of a negative, I can't see how we're going to keep hold of him. I cannot see how we're going to keep hold of him because somebody from the Premier League will offer big money. But I think Forest defended very well. I think Amiobi really, with that header, Steve Cook lost him. And watching it back, Steve, he completely lost him. Should have done more with it. And also, I did mention as well in a tweet to you as well, Liam, didn't I? With regards to Harry Arter, when he headed that ball over the bar, I do wonder if Lyle Taylor actually called for that because he was in such a good position.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it'd be one where ideally Taylor had called for it, and he had the defender pinned. He could have linked up to Arter and introduced him to play. Just a couple of points as well. So Ryan Yates has actually had 7-8 chances this season already from headers inside and around the 6-yard box. I think he's had about 2.5 worth of XG, and he's not converted a single chance yet, and I think 80% of his chances have come from headers. So although he should have scored that, it's also not surprising to have seen him miss. He's got to score one soon. And just a little stat for you regarding Forest players and their ridiculous amounts of signings. They've signed 71 players in 7 transfer windows and signed 14 players in the shortest pre-season in history, and obviously sacked the manager after 4 games. So I think that tells the story of Forest. Hughton doesn't necessarily know the team that well. Not a big fan of the squad, and again, only using 2 substitutes tonight. So plenty of work for Chris Hughton to be doing at Nottingham Forest.
Brilliant. Liam, thank you very much for coming on. And just, tell us, I'm sure people have seen the preview, but about your podcast.
Yeah, so I've got a podcast mainly talking about Premier League football, but also some EFL stuff as well. It's called the Engine Room Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at Engine Room Pod. So, drop us a follow on there. Brilliant.
Liam, really appreciate it. And thanks so much for coming on straight afterwards, because, we know it must be really difficult. But, there were some good signs there. If you're more clinical, you're playing a side that's obviously brimming with confidence. I'm sure it'll be onwards and upwards for you. And nice to have you on. Thank you so much, Liam.
Definitely.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, lads. Thank you very much. Cheers.
All for the rest of the season, and Billy's standing by, but Morgan Scott is going to come in at this point in time. Morgan, we'll come to you shortly after I just say hello to Jeremy here. 2-0 over Forest. Jeremy, pleased with that?
Yeah, I have to confess, I worked and got off early. We're preparing for Thanksgiving here in the States, so I got home and saw the second half, and I made a comment on the Up the Cherries board that it seemed that everybody to a man, all 10 guys out there, were playing fast, as I would say, and up to their potential, which to me showed the quality on the pitch compared to Forest. There was no comparison, and you would see that ebb and flow a little bit, because once we got the penalty and Stanislas had his second goal, we seemed to take our foot off the gas a little. So I was pleased. But I really saw what we can do, and I agree. When I saw Brooks, he looked like he did a couple of years ago, his rookie year, if you will. And just like Craig said, now I'm concerned someone's going to come in and make us an offer that we can't refuse on him. And
somebody will, Jeremy, 100%. Somebody will. we've just got to we've just got to tell them where to go, especially if we're in this sort of position in January. At the end of the day, you've got to weigh up how much are we going to get for him if we sell him in January, and how much are we going to get for going straight back up to the Premier League. I think it's a no-brainer. We just have to keep hold of him. He's, well, without a shadow of a doubt, I think he's the best player in the league.
I agree with that.
Well, yeah, lots of people have said that. And I think that our league position that we're in come January is probably going to affect what he does. Because if we're, languishing in, I say languishing, but in sort of 6th or 7th or whatever, is that going to maybe be a factor? Because if we're, top of the league, points clear, then he'd probably stay, knowing his Premier League football. He settled in Bournemouth. Why would he go? But obviously, we've got to be strong. And obviously, Josh King's probably the first target that most people will be looking at. But then Brooks, Dan Juma is quite scary, really. And Tom Jordan alluded to that question to Jason Tyndall on the chat on Sunday, which anyone could watch back on Twitter or on our YouTube channel. Really good to have an hour with him. And he said, do you fear the transfer window, or is it something that excites you? And he's a bit sort of like 50-50, really. And when you see Brooks putting in performances like that, Morgan, will it worry you?
If he goes, absolutely. It's after he scored on international duty for Wales, he got 2 against Birmingham, didn't he? And then he got the assist tonight. And it wasn't just 2 goals and 1 assist in 2 separate games. It was a match sharp David Brooks. He was getting in behind on the defence. He was coming in off the win into the central number 10 position. He was causing chaos. At times, their defender couldn't handle him. Like the other, like Dan Juma on the other side, he got past his man far too easy. Solanke, I thought, again, were really, really good linking up with Brooksy. Dan last against Reading, I don't think he did so well, but he looked... they all feed off each other, and it's such a massive factor. And if we want to go back to the Prem, we can't lose David Brooks. It's as simple as that.
Just very quickly.
Sorry,
I was watching the game on my phone today, and I had Sky Sports, the Soccer Saturday or Soccer Special, whatever they call it, during midweek on. And Paul Merson actually made a point about David Brooks, and he said he would walk in to most Premier League sides. Okay, maybe not the top 6. Well, to be fair, I think he'd probably get a position in the top 6, but anybody outside of them, I think he'd walk. To be fair, he'd probably walk into Everton's side.
I agree, and if I may, we were talking. Someone mentioned Josh King earlier, and that poor guy. Talk about someone who is just his stock is falling exponentially. Brooks and Dan Juma. To your point, Craig and Sam, I agree. Those guys are the 2 that I worry about leaving in January. Absolutely. Josh King is, and again, I don't know if it's attitude. Is he pouting? Who knows? But that's the guy we all worried about. And now I'm thinking maybe someone will come get him. But I wouldn't put money on it. And by the way, and again for Sam, Dom Solanke. For Dom, I was one of the most critical of him after the first few weeks, and tip of the cap to the guy. He has completely turned it around. So I have to eat crow on that one.
I take a bit of thanks for that. I take a bit of thanks for that. Since I put out a tweet on Twitter against Leicester, he's actually turned up and started playing well. When I said that I should be playing instead of him at halftime, then he's obviously pulled his socks up. Go on, Craig.
Yeah, I didn't go that far, Morgan.
Just very quickly as well, I know that, Sam, you mentioned about, if we was languishing in mid-table, if we're in the position we are now, why would he want to go? Because he's as likely to end up, with a very good Premier League side, in ourselves, with a couple of additions that we bring in, during the summer, if we end up there. On that performance, we didn't blow Forest away today, on the scoreline. But I don't think there's many Championship sides that cope with us. Like against Reading at the weekend. That second half, they're not a bad side, and we managed to blow them away at the end. Managed to beat them quite convincingly. And so I think if we play like that week in, week out, we are going to blow a team away eventually. Probably Rotherham. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Rotherham. But I tell you what, we are going to be right up there if we play like that.
I really hope so. I mean, one thing that I felt during the first half and during some parts of the second half, but especially during the first half, was that it was like we never really got out of third gear, and we were controlling the game, and there were players playing in between the lines. They were picking up the ball, between their defensive midfield and having space to turn, and it was a joy to watch. The only thing that we didn't have was that clinical edge at the end. I mean, David Brooks was running through a goal quite often, and his last touch was often quite heavy, I found. But as I was saying over WhatsApp to Tom Jordan, I think sometimes that's intentional to draw the defender to him so he can just skip past him. But I found that Brooks's touch was a little bit heavy at times. But you know what? If he's going to spray those balls through to Stanislas like he did on 3 minutes, then you take that all day long. And it was a goal that actually reminded me very much of Junior Stanislas's goal in the Premier League. I think it was the season where we finished 9th, where it was against Burnley at home. We won 2-1. There was a lovely long raked ball through to Stanislas who controlled it, and he curled it into the back of the net. It was kind of similar, almost on the other side, but it was brilliant to see Brooks back to his best. And there's more to come from Brooks, isn't there, Morgan?
Oh, 100%. I think he's going to be a world-class player, and he's just getting better and better, and it's just nice to see him fit. He's still young. He's got years ahead of him, and it's really nice to see him back to normal David Brooks himself after such a horrible run of injury. One thing I would like to mention that no one else has yet, if I may, is the penalty that Nottingham Forest conceded on Solanke. Now, I've seen it a couple of times now, and I think it's a little bit soft, if I'm honest. I think we got away with one there. Because that would be
and we should have had one later on in the game. Where
that was I think that was more. That was more of a penalty than.
Solanke was incredibly clever there because he was going into no man's land. He wasn't driving towards the goal. However, what he did was he left his foot there, and as soon as he had that contact, I think most referees would give that. Because he's just hung his leg there. The player's taking him out. Was it Lolly that took him out?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
and what Solanke brings to the side, he might not bring the goals, but he does bring something else. And I think it was a very, very clever penalty to win. So there's a lot that he does right. He's not going to be the 20 goal the season scorer. But, well, I know that Kirk mentioned about Ivan Toney. If we had him in this side, we would be blowing this league. Because we're scoring goals everywhere else.
Yeah.
I think the 10 Matt Dougal stand must be like a goal line Hawkeye system, trying to, you had that remarkable save by Asmir Begovic, and then how the ball didn't get turned in by there were so many players, it was hard to tell, but any of them players in the 6-yard box. I never knew that the goal line technology was even in the Championship, if I'm honest. I thought it was a Prem thing, but the fact how that didn't go in, so maybe it's cursed at that end of the pitch.
Yeah, maybe it is. Right, we're going to rotate it around. Craig, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate your views.
Pleasure as always, mate.
Nice to see you, and also Jeremy as well. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
You too. Enjoy, sir. And Morgan, we'll leave you in for a bit because you were last on. So Billy Day is standing by. Before I bring in Billy and Thomas, get involved. If you want to, just grab a pair of headphones and go to afcbpodcast.com/take part. We're going to be on for another 20 minutes or so. There's space in the room if you want to come straight in, because after Billy and Thomas, there's no one else. So if you fancy getting involved, then do feel free. I'll also pop the link right now on the live chats on YouTube, Facebook, and also on Periscope as well. So if you want to get involved, then do click that link. Make sure you got headphones if you can. Just helps us eliminate some feedback right then. So Billy Day is with us, and also we've got Thomas Molish as well. Billy, we'll come to you. You've been patiently waiting. You got a smile on your face today?
Oh, I'm happy. I mean, I was looking at the start of the game and I saw the Forest team. And I'm thinking, yeah, we're in a little bit of danger. We've got to be careful today. And as I was watching it, Nottingham Forest, no disrespect to them, but they didn't really look very dangerous today. Their defence was fantastic, but ours was just a bit better. And I've got to give you a little congratulations to Steve Cook for a clean sheet on his 350th appearance. And so he was fantastic. And
I thought it's funny. I was chatting to someone the other day, and I said, when Eddie was manager, sometimes there would be a team selection which I'd be very baffled by, or there'd be substitutions that you think, why is he doing that? But it's weird. I haven't had that yet with JT, and I saw that team, and I was licking my lips and thinking, right, this is a lineup that's going to do some damage here. 2-0 is not as much damage as I thought, but is it a worry, Billy, that we're not taking more of our chances that we're getting or being more clinical? Because that's it. When you look at it, at how poor Forest were, it wasn't really a 2-0 game. It's more like a 3-0 or a 4-0. Of course, 2-0, we're all happy. But, just thinking for matches where we play teams that are going to, maybe give us more, is that a worry or not?
I think it kind of is, because as Craig was saying, having a striker like Ivan Toney, for example, scoring goals left, right, and centre. Unfortunately, at the moment, Solanke's not doing that, but he is playing well. You've got to give him credit there. And I think Sam Surridge as well. He could be a player that could be a big impact. So I feel like the three up top, having maybe Brooks give him a rest day and have Danjuma, Solanke, and Surridge. Or maybe drop Danjuma down, bringing another midfielder and having Solanke and Surridge up top, possibly for Rotherham. I mean, I know Rotherham, they're dangerous. Let's think about that. We don't, just like Sheffield Wednesday, right? We don't just sit back and think easy. No championship game is easy. We've got to think of Rotherham very carefully. And so I've jinxed it now. I've jinxed it.
Yeah.
If we lose, if we lose now, Twitter, kill me. Just Twitter will come at me. Just
one person that we've mentioned very briefly is Harry Arter, of course, playing for. I mean, obviously they had Lyle Taylor as well, but when he was subbed off the pitch, Morgan, didn't you just feel like it was such a massive shame that us fans weren't there to give him a huge standing ovation? Because we would have all got off onto our feet and applauded him off, and I'm sure he would have got an incredible reception. It's just a shame that. If it is going to be a brief stay in the Championship, we're all hoping it is. We haven't really had that chance to say goodbye.
No, I would have liked to have been there. Harry Otter's he's been a great servant for AFC Bournemouth over the years. And it was a shame not to be able to give him that congratulations. But I did actually stand off of my chair and give him a little clap when he came off, because I thought I think he deserved it after what he done. He could have got booked to I think he could have got booked, but like Harry Arter, I think Tom Jordan put something on Twitter, who's going to get booked first, Jefferson Lerm or Harry Arter. But no, it was nice to see him come off without kicking anyone, and he did really well to on it. Formality playground, shall we say.
Yeah, brilliant. Morgan and Billy, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Great to have you on. We're going to rotate it once more. And in the background, we'll bring in Steve, also Dan as well. So Steve Hensman is here, and also Dan. But Thomas, we'll come to you first. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, especially after that performance. Can't complain.
Yeah, can't complain at all. 2-0, and we deserved it, didn't we?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was one of those performances where I mean, a lot of people are going to feel uneasy about us getting through that performance with the win. Just really, it was still a tight game despite the difference. But in my opinion, games like that where we don't look super confident and we still come away with the win, as far as I'm concerned, that's a positive, because for the last however many weeks we've been putting in excellent performances and coming out with the draw. So as far as I'm concerned, great performance.
And it's important that we now push on, because in the championship, when we won it in 2014-15 season, we had a pretty sort of dodgy start, and it was around about now we started to put together a string of results, and that included the 8-0 at Birmingham and numerous others. And we've got 3 on the spin now, and you're looking at our fixtures throughout December, and I think there are some tricky ones, but there are some winnable games there. And now JT's surely going to be looking at targeting a certain amount of points. And obviously, there's 8 fixtures in December. He's got to rotate where possible ahead of the game on Saturday at Rotherham. What do you think he's going to do? Because he has got changes to make, hasn't he, Thomas?
Yeah, he seems someone who also wants to very much work with the back 3 system. So to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he chops and changes the formation in that regard, which I hope he doesn't, to be honest, because I remember seeing that team that he put together on Saturday, and it was excellent, just because the system that he's putting together with Lloyd Kelly at left back, always a left back. As soon as Nathan Ake left in the summer, everyone was talking about him being a centre back as a junior, and I was like, just don't do it, please, because you've got an excellent left centre back in Steve Cook. Keep him there. Put Lloyd on the left. Metham's playing excellent. You've got a bunch of great right backs. Stick with that, and then that front 4 thing they've got going on works so well. So I know he's going to chop and change, and there's so many good players he can bring in, like Roro. Also, who else is on the bench? I mean, you got so many good juniors as well. Like I'd love to see Kilkenny get a go on that right side, just because Brooks is playing every week, and he's going to get he's going to start losing it a little bit, especially during this period of time. So I'd love to see him stick with that back 4 system, and I certainly think those players he's going to bring in can definitely do the job during this period of time.
Steve, you're a fan that would have enjoyed that, but you'll be sure to keep your emotions in check, and no doubt you're going to come along with a bit of negativity to piss all over our bonfire, or not? Are you a happy clapper tonight, or have you got some?
To be honest, Sam, I've only really come on. I've only really come on because you were begging for people to come on.
So you've not even got an opinion tonight? No, I mean, you're happy, right?
No, of course. It was job done, wasn't it? It was. I can't get excited about it because Forest just offered nothing really, as far as I was concerned. We just dominated it so much from start to finish, and they just parked the bus. We caught them out early, and then they offered nothing after that, and we just coasted that game. And I even think, I mean, I wouldn't even say that some players had the greatest of games, and I thought Kelly struggled a bit at left back. I think I prefer him there to Rico, because I'm not a Rico fan, but I thought he struggled. Yeah, I just think he struggled a bit today. He made a few mistakes, but they didn't seem to capitalise on anything. I felt sorry. Do you know what? I felt really sorry for Harry Arter, because he looked like he was doing his usual, 200%. He's chasing down everything, and it just seemed like the rest of them were just quite content to just park the bus. And I just think we were given that win. They gave us that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I've brought you all down. Now I'm going.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Dan, what were your thoughts?
I was really impressed today. I think that this was just as impressive, if not more impressive, than the Reading game, because a lot of the times we'll get a result, we'll get a win, and we won't, carry on with that, formal performance. And to get a goal, to actually have a good start for once was refreshing. A really, really good goal, and to keep pushing on once, because a lot of the time we haven't killed games off. Obviously, we didn't kill the game off, but we had so many different, so many opportunities, so many chances. Brooks, really, really happy to see him get back to near his best. Don't think he's quite at his best yet, but he's not far off. And that's really good to see. And I think, as Thomas was making a point there about Kelly, if we're playing at centre back, left back, I think that it's a luxury to have so many different players that can play centre back. Obviously, got Rico that can play centre back and left back. Same with Kelly. And we've got a lot of options. We've got a lot of creativity off the bench, and we've got depth, which is important in this league with so many games.
And it's ironic because I'm talking about it, but we're not really having the Dom Solanke conversation anymore, are we, Dan?
Yeah, about time. Yeah, I'm a massive Dom fan. I think he we can put aside last season, and I think that he works so hard for the team, which for any fan is so important to see a player like he's been miles better than King so far this season, and he's really proved to himself. He's earned that. As I said, I agree with Kirk. He's not a number 9 striker. I think we've all established that he doesn't play like a number 9. But he works so hard for the team. Really should have had 2 penalties today. Did really well to win that first one. Clever. But yeah, no, it's nice to not have debate. I think he's proved himself with creativity, and he works really, really hard, which is always appreciated.
A few players that we maybe haven't mentioned tonight. Adam Smith, Lloyd Kelly's got a little bit of a mention. Someone was saying to me that if we were to pick any weaknesses, it would probably be our wide defenders. But how do you think Adam Smith came in today?
Yeah, I think that Steve mentioned about Kelly as well there. I don't think he had a particularly great game. I think he was one of the players that I was saying to my dad. I was thinking he hasn't had a great game. Smith, well, I wouldn't say
I didn't really notice him.
Yeah, it was a bit of a. Yeah. But then often that's a good thing. If you don't notice a player, because that you're not. I can't say that I notice Steve Cook every game. In some way, because he doesn't. You only really particularly notice him if he makes a mistake, a pass, a misplaced pass, and he's been a rock for us this season. I think it was an average performance. I wouldn't go as far as say that our fullbacks were poor today, but I wouldn't. I'd say it was an average performance from both of them, if I'm being honest.
But Jeff Lerma and Lewis Cook, that is our combination, isn't it? That is our midfield, duo that is going to be the go-to duo. But surely to God, on Saturday, that's not going to happen, Dan.
No, I think we're gonna have to change it up. Obviously, am I right in saying Lerma started the other game, didn't he?
Yeah, Jeff's got to be rested.
Yeah, and Lewis Cook again starts 2 games in a row. So probably Goza will probably come in next game. And I was mentioning talking to my dad again. Billing is he out of favour now? Because I think
he's back on the bench tonight, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it just seems like I don't know if it's confidence. Like I think he has struggled this season, and I can't remember which game it was. I think it might have been the Wednesday game. That it was quite frustrating because all of our players were playing bad. But Billing has this. He plays like, obviously he's not playing like this, but he looks like he's not trying almost, which obviously isn't the case. But the way he plays is almost quite slow. It's sort of, but I really like Billing. I'm a massive Billing fan. I think he's got talent, but I think he's got to cement his role on. You've got to find, is he a defensive midfielder? Is he a more attacking midfielder, box to box midfielder? Because I know we've had this conversation about what actually midfielder is he in this team. We can kind of say what all we can put them into categories of what all our other midfielders, and some of them fit into 2 categories, like we've seen. Jeff Lerma push up, Lewis Cook push up, which is having 2 midfielders that can both defend and attack. As I said, it's a luxury, and we've got players like Offerball on the bench. And which I think he's quality. He can obviously play centre back.
I'd much rather see Namdi than Billing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And obviously, we've got players again, young players like Zamora, Jaden Anthony, who are great young prospects that I think will you have to play at some point in the season. But I'm confident.
Do you rotate both of them, Dan?
Both midfielders.
Yeah, at
That's
same
a hard
time.
one because it's so hard. We've seen what we can be like without Lerma, and
They've both played a lot of games, haven't they?
It's the risk, but Jason taking off Lerma early, bringing on Gosling, might have been to say, because he's so important to this team. You notice him when he's not playing, so it might be
It's an easy trap to fall into to start rotating too many, isn't it?
But then again, we are playing Rotherham, which you would
that's
say
what I mean. It's sort of underestimating them.
But then last time we underestimated, what happens? Wednesday, but it's a hard one. I probably would rest him for Rotherham. I think he's earned a rest. He's obviously had international duty as well. Probably go Gozza, maybe Billing, and I'd probably go Cook and Gozza. I think.
If I can just cut in here,
go for it.
I think this is really where Jason Tindall has to make his money as a manager, because obviously as we're coming into this period of time where we're having so many fixtures, it's arguably a position where especially Jason Tindall and the squad that we have now don't really, they've never experienced it before, and working out, how much can I get out of this side without getting them injured? It's a really tough question to ask, and it's one that I think arguably, even though we've been in this position before, this squad itself has never asked that question. And I think Jason Tindall, this is where he makes his money, because, it's the difference between winning and losing, and that could be the difference between going up to the Premier League and saying goodbye to most of this squad next year.
Yeah, really interesting conversation, actually. And we're going to now rotate again very quickly. So, Thomas, thank you very much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. And Dan, a.k.a. Duron, thank you so much for coming in, mate. Really appreciate it.
Cheers for having me, Sam.
Cherries.
Appreciate it.
Good nice one. See you soon. And Steve, if you want to hang around a bit, people have...
Do I have to?
Well, you might want to have a bit of banter with Kirk for a bit, mightn't you? Kirk,
that's why I said, do I have to?
Here he comes. Here he comes on his phone, but he's wanted to say
hello,
hello,
mate.
Kirk.
How you doing, mate? All right? Do you know, I was going to give everyone a night off tonight, but I just couldn't let you close out the show like this. It's too many days until the weekend, and I thought, nah, I'm not even prepared. I'm on my phone. This is so unprofessional.
Anyway, how are you feeling, Kirk? 2-0 over Forest? Pretty good.
Yeah, like the best first half performance I've been crying out for weeks. Proactive, movement, tempo. Oh, just brilliant. Do you know what? There's about 4 or 5 key there's some players in there that are really key links for us. And when those players are on it from minute one, it lifts the other 5 or 6 players on that pitch. And it's what I've been looking for a few weeks now. And probably the only thing we could probably criticise is we only went in 1-0 up, because really, if we play like that from minute one, we should be putting a lot of teams to bed by half time. And then, like Steve says, we should be cruising the rest of the game, knowing that we've got a really strong fixture list coming up in December. But that is, I was really happy with tonight. We got a bit leggy at the end, but that's because of everything we put in the first 65 minutes. And that's what happens.
Wow, I'm loving this. Steve, we will swap you around, but do you want to say a parting word to Kirk?
Not really. No.
Well, that is fair enough.
People are going to side with Kirk, aren't they? But I'll tell you what, though, Kirk, you don't make as good as Twitter videos as I do. So that's one point I'm going to get.
I can't argue with that. And to be fair,
wow,
it did a bit, didn't it? I was a bit bored.
Went mad. To be fair,
loved it.
In Steve's defence, to be fair, they're not a great team. For a team that finished just outside the playoffs and really should have got the playoffs last year, they're not a great team on paper. But you've still got to go on that pitch and deliver what you need to deliver to take the game to them. And I felt we did that. I mean, someone needs to take credit for the orange slices that were given to the players before the whistle went, because they were on it for whatever reason and what we've been crying out for. And even Jason said it at the weekend that they got the result, but we need to find out why we're not starting these games like this. And whatever they've done in the 2-3 days leading up to tonight, they got it right tonight. And yet they took their foot off the pedal last 20 minutes.
Do you think Forest didn't really press us at all, did they? And I think the teams that have had success against us have been the ones that have pressed us. And I just felt Forest didn't offer anything. They didn't try. They just let us have the ball, and it was.
Well, they had a few clear-cut chances that their execution was poor. I mean, I remember at the far post, Amiobi and the header over the bar. They were wasteful when they did have chances. But no, you're right. They were isolated.
But that was late on, wasn't it? That was sort of last 20 minutes.
It wasn't, and that's where Kirk says we were getting leggy after about 65 minutes. And I was quite surprised the changes weren't actually made earlier, but they were made a bit later than I thought he might make. But anyway, we will rotate once again. Steve, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Thank you.
Good to
Always
see you,
a
Steve.
pleasure. And you, mate.
Top man. And Chris Edwards, who is always on the YouTube channel with positive comments. Really appreciate you coming on, Chris. Chris, how are you?
Thank you. Doing well tonight, man. Doing well.
Good. And we've also got Filippo as well. Filippo Biondo. Filippo, how are you?
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me here. I am from Rome, Italy. I'm Italian, and but I am a Cherries fan. I fell in love with the Cherries a couple of years ago. I went to Bournemouth 2 years ago for a holiday study. With my school, when my school organized an holiday of 2 weeks, and I was able to attend the friendly against Real Betis. Back in summer 2018, and I really loved the atmosphere of vitality, and also step by step I learned about the Cherries history, the recent years, minus 17 season. And all the promotions, 2015 promotions, and I've experienced also the relegation last year, sadly. But now we are here, and I think it's a good team.
Yes, we are doing very well at the moment.
They are doing well.
Yeah, they are doing really well. And lots of people are saying hello to you here, including Ethan, Carl, and James as well. And also another comment saying truly global. And we've got a guy called Tommy Heffernan's Poodle. Now, Tommy Heffernan was a player that played for AFC Bournemouth in the 1980s, and there's a user called Tommy Heffernan's Poodle. That's his nickname, and he says he bloody loves you already.
Whoa.
So top man.
Thank you, Tommy.
So, unfortunately, when we played Real Betis, we lost 2-0, so it wasn't a good result for Bournemouth. But you say you like the atmosphere, you like the stadium, and we did pretty well in the Premier League, didn't we? For 5 seasons, it was a good ride.
Of course. There have been 5 magnificent years, as the team wrote on their website when they've got relegated in July. And but now I think it's really important that this team can do 3 wins in a row. All these good results on a season, especially on a season like this, where we've got games every 3 days, especially this month, where we've got every game. Sorry for my English.
Okay, yeah. No, not a problem at all. But I do know exactly what you mean, and I was about to say, who's your Italian club?
So until Christmas, we have games every 3 days.
Oh yeah, we do. And sorry, do you support an Italian club as well?
Sorry.
Do you support a club in Italy?
No, I spoke what in Italy.
Who do you which team do you support in Italy? AC
in
Milan,
Italy.
Juventus?
My favorite team is Roma. AS Roma.
Roma
in Italy.
Oh, good,
good stuff. And we've got a match on Thursday. Thursday night we got a match in Romania against Cluj.
So football all week for you. So hopefully it will be 2 wins in 3 days for you. Fingers crossed.
I am really lucky. Because with Roma playing Europa League, there is like every week there's always Bournemouth Cherries on Saturday, and Roma on Sunday. I am really lucky because I think if Roma next year is gonna play in Champions League, well, I don't know because I don't know if Roma can do it, but if they are playing Champions League, will be more difficult, even more difficult to follow the Cherries because the matches are gonna be at the same hour. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
Brilliant. Filippo, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries, and fingers crossed that if Bournemouth get back into the Premier League, maybe we'll be playing the Champions League season after that. You never know. Chris, how are you, sir? First
Hey
time
man,
on.
how awesome is that? I mean, really, would have thought? I know y'all have been following the club for close to your lifetime, but the fact, did you ever think 10 years ago that you would just have, you'd have people from Italy, you'd have all these younger folks that are coming in, you'd have a good number of us from the States coming in, man. It's just pretty cool just to see what the global reach of the Cherries have been so far. So, hey, and also before I kind of get to this match, Kirk, just want to talk, man, your son was awesome the other night. I mean, really, really good. So, man, you got your work cut out for you. Make sure he didn't start taking all your screen time. Because, man, I know he had a ton of good comments for that.
Thanks for that, Chris. I think he's raised the bar level, hasn't he?
He has, man. He was calm, cool, collected, man. It was impressive. I don't know how old he is, but, man, it was good stuff. And then also kind of coattailing that, Sam, man, I comment on it, but, man, I can't thank you enough for giving time to those the younger kids, the younger generation. I don't want to call them kids, but sometimes they are kids.
Yeah.
Man, you give them good screen time. And I think that's what separates Back of the Net from a lot of the fan channels is, man, you spread the screen time out to a lot. You give a lot of different opinions. And, man, like I said, one comment, it's cool seeing the energy from that young fan base. So,
amazing.
I know you're conducting this circus on these post-match shows, but, even when I was looking at the comments, everybody was like going, where's Vin? Where's Vin? Because
they were.
Because I think it was Daniel, the first one, the younger one that was early. Yeah, Daniel was there, and then we always look forward to Ethan. Ethan was in the chat too, and so we kind of all, it's kind of cool reading the chat on the side because whenever Ethan pops in, everybody goes, "Hey, Ethan!" On the comments. So man, it's pretty cool what you've done with that. But kind of getting to the match is, Kurt, I was logging in whenever you were going through some of your things, so I didn't hear you. So excuse me if I've saying some things over again. But one thing that I always look for in any kind of sports teams is progression. And you can kind of see that definitely from the beginning to now. And, Liam, when he talked about the Forest fan, when he said in his preview show that, hey, we've got 14 new signings and we're still trying to figure out who we are. And you could kind of see that tonight because their passing was all over the place, wasn't crisp. I don't know if they strung together more than 5 passes. And if you remember, that's kind of the way we started out the season. We were kind of all over the place. Things weren't crisp. You saw a lot of body language guys throwing their hands up because it's like maybe they were out of position, didn't know each other well. But right now, you can just see that we're kind of coming together as a team now that we've played together. I'm a little bit more knowledgeable on the baseball side of things. And I know in the baseball season, they always say, who your team is about 40 games into a season because, baseball is 162 games. And so, what was tonight? The 13th match that we've had? And you can kind of see how we're progressing and kind of we're kind of, forming into the kind of the squad that we have. So it's just interesting to see because, the best part is still so much time to progress. And we can see where, hey, we need to do this a little bit better. We need to do this a little bit better. So we haven't peaked yet, which is kind of with a 46 match season, definitely what you want right now, that you can see definite times definite room for improvement, which is really good because we're still winning while still needing that improvement. And then, once again, because everybody talks about Dom Solanke, it was, I noticed with him is about, and I think you said this at one point in time, that he is, when he's in the middle, he just kind of controls where he is. And if you look, like whenever there's a free kick or something like that, and the play is paused, whenever you see him up against some other defender, he like towers over everybody. Like he's just a bigger body, and you can see where we can take advantage of that in this. Like when people were saying, "Hey, was that really a penalty? Was it not a penalty?" But if you notice, he had 3 dudes on him, And he kind of controlled the ball with those 3 dudes on him and kind of forced one of them into making a mistake. And you can say it was a penalty, not a penalty, but he had 3 guys on him. One of them took a misstep on him, fell over. Yeah. We got the penalty. And so, I just account that to him just having that bigger body and just having the skill set to be able to control that at that time. So once again, just like seeing the progression of where we're going and, just looking forward to seeing what the future holds for us.
It's interesting you say about Dom Solanke because I was texting a friend during that first half and I said, as much as we all don't like Ryan Fraser now, he was a player that ran into the penalty box almost recklessly and could easily draw the foul. And I said to my mate, I said, who's that player that we've got now? Because, Dan Juma ultimately is so good. He beats them. He doesn't need to go down. He can get around them and he can take it to the byline and pull it back, or he can work a shot on goal. But Dom Solanke's close control in the box is really good and really impressive.
And it doesn't seem like
with those players around him, I think it's phenomenal. And I thought, he's that man. And then he went on to win a penalty. Arguably could have had a second.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. Just it's once he gets in there, it's like he's just bigger than everybody else. And so he knows if he keeps control of the ball, someone's going to have to make a move on him or he can just pass it away. I always have, because I don't know the details of football that well, strategy and everything else. But I always, from what I see, I always tell this one friend of mine, I go, chaos in the box scores. I said, you just get a bunch of bodies in the box and the chaos is going to happen at some point in time. Something's going to happen. And so my friend always says, well, you can't count on chaos to score every game. But I said, man, chaos in the box scores. And so tonight, whenever, that penalty, and I text him, I go, chaos in the box scores. So
if you
got to get in there. You got to get in the box to be able to score.
The ball against Middlesbrough, we did the same. We smashed it into the ball hard, and Dom Solanke, I don't think sort of knew much about the goal really, but it's it was at pace. And even the goal the weekend, that cross, he barely had to do anything, just smashed it in, and there were bodies in the box. And if it wasn't going to come off Dom, it was probably going to come off someone else. So I agree with that. By the way, just before we let you go, how did you get into support AFC Bournemouth?
It was once again like everybody else. It was that promoted series from NBC where
wow. Amazing.
Where NBC really started covering the Premier League here, but and I've said it before, I didn't want to just jump on one of the top 6 teams, which everybody else does here in the States, and so I just kind of looked around for a couple of years. But then once that promoted thing came on in the first year in the Premier League, and I was like going, I mean, you have to have that, just the romanticism of the club in doing that. It's like, man, that's something where no one's going to accuse me jumping a bandwagon, when it's Bournemouth, like it's so many friends are Man U fans or Chelsea fans, like I always say, or something else. And so it's easy to jump on a top 6 team, but I want to do a little homework first before I just threw my allegiance to somebody. So
by the way, Chris,
yes sir,
that's a quality contribution tonight. Well
appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
So
sometimes it's a little bit intimidating because I didn't grow up watching, playing, anything like that. But once again, Sam, I appreciate you giving the screen time to people like me that we don't know everything, but we still have just a little bit of opinion just by watching sports. So appreciate it.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem, guys. Hey, appreciate it. All right, take care, Sam.
Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much. That was Chris, and as Chris Hubble says, legend. So
can I just pick up one final point? Sorry, you're going to ask me something. Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I'm going to ask you for your moment of the match shortly, but crack on.
Yeah, no, I just want to pick off sort of what Chris said there. With regards to Dom, I agree with Tom Jordan. We are a better team with him in the lineup. We just need those other players around him to be on it, and when they're on it, we're just going to win most football matches. That is just obvious. And at the moment, the Brookses, the Danjumas, and Stanislas had the bit by his teeth today. He just wanted it. And when Stanislas is like that, there's not a better player in our team when Stanislas wants it. But I want to go back to a point that I highlighted with Simon Kay a few free-for-alls ago about not having a lot of leaders or partnerships. And I was watching tonight and I thought, do you know what? We've got more leaders than we actually think. I was looking at Begovic tonight and he really delegates from the back more than I actually realised. And I think he's a big leader in our team. Steve Cook's he's just stepped into that captain role even better than he has done before when he's covered it. And I look at Lewis Cook and Lerma, and without them two in that middle of that park, we might not be the team that we were tonight, and potentially going forward. They are so pivotal to what we achieved this season.
Yeah.
But it is going to be difficult managing the fixture list like we've talked about. So, but I do look at Lewis Cook as, from minute one, he's running down balls, he's aggressive, and then everyone just seems to watch him and then think, I'll have some of that as well. And Lerma's just your engine, and he'll just keep going all game. So I just wanted to pick up that really, because I was watching that tonight, and I'm really positive. Today's probably the most positive I've been all season.
That's a good way to end the show. Kirk, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
and the
Sam.
good news is,
Cheers.
Kirk will hopefully be back in very soon, and we'll be back playing football for round 2 of our, back in the FC versus AFCB's version of Gary Neville FC.
The rematch contract, it's being prepared.
That's what I like to hear. We'll be vlogging it. Nice one. Thanks, Kirk.
All right. Cheers, mate. See you later.
Cheers. Thank you very much. And thank you all for contributing tonight. And Cherries did what they needed to do against a Forest side that didn't cause too much of a threat. It's what you call professional, wasn't it? We didn't really get out of third gear. And Junior Stanislas, as I said at the start of the show, was ultimately the difference. Remember, Tom Jordan's player rating show is coming up. That's tomorrow. And the special guest on that will be the person that you just saw just now. Yes, I know that Owen did put in a sterling performance, and yes, Lewis Cook did tweet back to say, thanks, Owen, after his rating of 9 out of 10. Be interesting to see what Kirk does. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. But until then, we're still doing all right, aren't we? Up the cherries.